one of the things I like to share with my students is that every change always happens in a moment. You know, you think about it, you're driving along in your car, bam, that accident, we don't really believe in accidents either, but that accident or that occurrence happens in a moment. You know, a baby is born in a moment. All of the big things that happen in our life happen in a moment. So if all of that happens in a moment, then why can't a PSYCH-K balance change your life forever?
Why can't it?
Yeah.
It does. That's the beautiful part about
it.
And this is so wonderful because, look, I've been with Rob on and off. You know, I mean, we've lectured in the beginning a lot. Rob had the personal desire not to lecture because, not that he didn't want to lecture, but he just liked staying home. And then, so I end up on the road all the time. But the simple reality is this. In this 20 years, how many people have I seen go through a PSYCH-K process and come out of misery of every kind, whether it's physical misery, emotional misery, mental misery, come out of that virtually instantaneously, walk away with a whole new life. It's like, if there's any miracle on this planet, it is the ability to change your life in minutes. And what's really nice about it, of course, is you make a change, you say, well, that's not exactly what I want. You say, oh, well, then good, make another change. Because they're unlimited. You can keep changing until you find the thing that makes your life work perfectly.
Yeah. And we are talking today about making changes in our everyday life, because if we use PSYCH-K processes on an ongoing basis, really the effect is cumulative.
Yes.
So we keep enhancing the neuron firings in our brain, we keep enhancing our energetic field, which we call the subconscious, and we just improve our lives, and it expands and gets better and better. And actually, for myself, what I found is the less work I actually need to do now, because I paved the way with a whole lot of change initially.
Yes.
And now, maybe, I don't know, every third, fourth, fifth day, something like that, I think, maybe I ought to take a look at that issue. You know, it's just like something will come to my awareness and I say, I wonder how I would respond to a test about that. And then I either need to balance for it or I don't.
Right.
Because I'm either in alignment subconsciously with my conscious mind or it's not. And if it's not, then it's so simple to change it.
Absolutely. And the fun is, well, when should I do a balance? And the answer is, if you're finding a stress, whatever it is, if there's a stress, it's a feedback. Stress says you're not operating in harmony at that moment. So automatically says, oh, well, if I have a stress, what's the issue? And then what's a balance take? A few minutes? And a few minutes later, that stress will not reappear. And as you do this sequentially, as we've just mentioned, there's a point where you pretty much eliminate almost all the stressors in your life.
Right. Well, and even when stresses do come, you know, whether it's maybe it's a family member that has a very difficult time, and I can feel very strongly for that family member, whether, you know, it's sympathy or compassion or whatever, but I don't have to get entangled in their stress. I can look at it from the outside, be of help, be comforting. Also know that I play my part in that experience, but I don't have to get myself involved and all enmeshed and grinding myself up, and the frustration that goes along with so much of that people deal with on an everyday basis. So.
Yeah, because you want to try to change somebody else's creation.
Right.
That's their creation.
It is.
And if you want to buy into it, then you can become part of that creation. But if it's not a creation of harmony and love, what the hell do I want to be a part of that?
Right.
So the simple reality is, we really have to recognize, I'm creating my life, you're creating your life, my brother is creating his life. And if his creation isn't that good, do I have to go downhill with him? And the answer is no. But if I can, I would facilitate and say, you really want that?
Yeah. How's that working for you?
And then all of a sudden, why I bring that up is because if you have a resolution, then you could ask that. But if you say, do you want that life, and you have no place to go, it's like, no, I don't want this life, and blah, blah, blah. And I go, yeah, but if you don't like this and you want to change it, then I say, oh, well, good, let's do a PSYCH-K balance. And then all of a sudden there's participation. But I also want to mention, because as we're talking about this, you cannot change somebody who does not want to be changed. And this really is hard, because if they're close people, family, community, or really close, and you see them going through this and you go, compassionately, I don't want to see you do that. I can't change you from doing that, no matter how much my wishes are. But when they're ready, we have the tool.
Well, and another neat thing that you just brought up is this whole idea of not changing other people. When we change ourselves, then oftentimes what happens is we see that our perception of other people, and we think, oh, they shouldn't be doing these things, yet we change ourselves, and maybe how we perceive those things, they actually begin changing how they interact with us, because now they can't get my hot button,
Yes.
or you know,
Yes.
there's I don't have any hot button to get,
Yes.
and so now they have to think, well, how do I interact with Karen now? You know,
Yeah.
because I can't get to her the way I used to get to her. So actually, because I do my own work, I do end up having a pleasant effect for other
Yeah.
people, because they have to change how they interact with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so as we take on our own personal change, we actually do create global evolution, which is another big topic we're here for.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and we're making differences in our lives, but not just our lives. When we make a difference for us, we make a difference for the planet.
Absolutely. And interesting enough, when people see that, oh, your life used to be this way and it was nothing I wanted to be, but then all of a sudden I say your life all of a sudden became really good, then I'm curious as say,
how'd you do that?
What'd you do right there?
Yeah.
Because I would like to change my life as well. So as we become the people we want to be, the others around us have an opportunity to say, I want what you have.
Right. Harry
And-
met Sally.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, it's a great honor to have been involved with PSYCH-K personally, because it's heaven on earth for me every day. But professionally, because as we mentioned, the world is going through a lot of struggle right now, and we're facing an evolutionary upheaval. And this evolutionary upheaval does not mean we're going to change our physical body. That's not the evolution. The evolution is of consciousness.
Right.
That we're not living in harmony with the world, and we're devastating nature, and not owning the reality we are nature. And if we devastate the web of life, we are going to be the victims. And yet humans are causing this problem. So there's a very special time where it's time for us to empower ourselves and take back this power, because if we can learn to live in harmony with nature, then we will be back in a garden.
Right.
And we've trampled this garden at this moment because we have no regard for nature's principles.
Right, that's so true. One of the other things that we talked about this weekend was chaos. And chaos, that was a fun one that you got off on our first day of our program. And I see chaos as a part of nature. How would you speak to that? That it's actually a necessary element for change, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, let's define chaos for a second.
Okay.
Because chaos, people think, oh, everything's just random and blew up and went all over the place. It's chaotic. And I go, there's a difference between random and chaos.
Okay.
Random means it's just random. It's just an accidental event. Chaos is actually, you can determine it. You can define it. But there's so many details, it's hard to make a conclusion. Mm-hmm. Okay? Weather is chaos. What does it mean? What's the probability it's going to rain? So we're making a guess. I say, yeah, but if you could collect all the data from everything that's going on in the world, every plant that's letting off water, every butterfly that's flapping its wing, then weather's not chaotic. I can predict exactly what the temperature is going to be in 1 minute from now.
Yeah.
So chaos doesn't mean random.
Mm-hmm.
It just means there's a pattern, but we can't see it.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me. Edit. Thank you.
Yeah. So chaos, though, can also be a very creative element, can't it? That where people are seeing a lot of upheaval. You know, here in the U.S., we've got all kinds of different things happening, and people are very frustrated, angry, upset. They don't know what to do. And we know that one of the things that they can do is get into what we call a whole brain state about things that appear to be chaotic.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to gather their resources from the mental resources of the brain especially, but not only that, but their spiritual resources and everything too. So it's a highly creative time, isn't it, when things appear to be chaotic?
Well, a chaotic just basically says in our world we're in a period of chaos. And I say, why? Well, I just said, look, the world is going through an extinction process because we're destroying the environment. And then science says, yeah, but human behavior is causing this.
Right.
So what does it mean? We have to then take the behavior that we've consistently looked at as this is normal behavior, and we have to create a new behavior.
Right.
I go, well, you can't go from old behavior and then instantly have new behavior. You have to break down the old behavior and in the process build a new behavior. Well, between the behavior that we're leaving and the one that's forming, the middle part,
Right.
it has mixture in it. It's a falling down of one and a building up of another. It looks chaotic,
And
it looks
uncertain.
crazy,
Yeah.
but the reality is if we understand what's going on, we can flow with nature instead of resisting it.
Yes.
and flow out of the chaos, which is not random but taking us to the new world.
Right.
And therefore, if we can learn how to change our behavior and become more in harmony with the world, which is what nature is calling on us to do, then we can create a sustainable, thrivable situation. Right now, it's not sustainable. The system is crashing because we cannot maintain the way we have lived. So that means we have to change the way we live. And I go, yeah, but that's culture and that's behavior. And so it says you have to change behavior. Well, then we have to let go of a behavior to create a better behavior. Right. And well, most people have to hit their heads against the wall and go through all this process. Again, what we've been talking about is, well, can I make it easier? And the answer is, of course you can make it easier. We can do PSYCH-K balance and change behaviors in minutes.
Right.
And so we don't have to be part of the struggle in the chaos. We could already be at the new end, wait for the other people to come out of the chaos and join us.
Yeah, and there's such a small number of us that really need to create that tipping point for the whole thing to shift.
Absolutely, and that's the beautiful part. It's like, oh, I got to wait for the whole world to change. Actually, it's a very small percentage, and that percentage is building every day.
Right.
Every day. So we're coming to an evolutionary upheaval that'll hit you in the face very soon. Yes.
It's an exciting time, isn't it, Bruce?
I love it because I know where we're going as a biologist. I can see we're going toward harmony. And we're going to re-empower people. And people have lost their power, not because we don't have power. They lost that power because their program that they got as children took away their power. The behavior I just gave you is one that loses power for you. And we have systematically been deprived of that power. And the only way to come out of this is to return the power to the average person. Because if you look at the average, what would the average person want? It's more than the average. I would say 90% of the people want exactly the same thing. They want peace, they want love, they want safety and security, and a job. Because people need to do something. That's why we're here. Meaningful. And if you get 90% of the people having the same wish and desire, and they're empowered to manifest it, then the world will immediately become that. And this is where we're all going, because we know we've gotten there through the PSYCH-K process.
Bruce, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking just this little bit of time to... And thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your love affair with PSYCH-K, because it is a wonderful thing that is helping so many people change their lives.
I appreciate that, and I really want to thank you, because while I might talk about this from higher up on the stage, you're actually down in the pits doing the work. And that to me is like, well, that's when it happens. I can talk about it, and that's an idea, but you make it reality.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great rest of our workshop.
And
thanks everybody for joining us too. And check out subconsciouschange.com and let us know how we can help you move forward faster.
Thank you. Yahoo!
Oh, that was
all you got to do is edit out